It's Mayor and Joseph. Usually it's pretty good, right? Yeah. You guys all. Yeah. Oh, it's nice, but it was, a little more. Still. All right, Commissioner, well, Muhlenberg Township Board of Commissioners budget meeting for October 21st, 2023 to order. We all please rise for a pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. We are here to discuss the 2024 Muhlenberg Township budget. With that, Mrs. Stevens, you are up.
Good morning. We all have a presentation. So we're going to start with doing an overview of how we ended in 2022, where the budget is in 2023, and the estimate going for the rest of the year for the last quarter of 2023. And then we'll move into the 24 budget overview. And the main focus obviously is on our biggest fund, our general fund. And then we will move on to our next fund, fire fund. Talk a little bit about capital and then talk about the ambulance. So if we go to page 3, I'm sorry, 4. So the beginning fund balance in, I should say the ending fund, well, the beginning fund balance in 2022 was 7.7 million, 7.8 million. Our revenues came in a little over 19 million, and our expenses ended a little above the 19 million. So we had a loss of $75,000, which is minimal. Now that number, because it's actual, does include transfers to capital. The 2023 number does not. And that's only because I only just had moved money for the first time because we had a reimbursement of $1 million that came in, so I didn't have to move any money from the general fund to cover any of the expenses. So that's why I didn't include any. So right, and this number was as of September 30th. So we were at 7 point. So the beginning balance we ended with, started with 7.7. Again, not bad. Our revenues at September 30th were, I'm sorry, these are our budget numbers. Was 16.1 million we budgeted and for revenue, and 16.8 in expenses. So we thought we were going to have an operating loss of 757,000. So moving into the remainder of the year for the estimate, I'm projecting that we will end with 17.3 million in revenue, 16.2 in expenses, with an operating surplus of a little over $1 million. Now, that number does not include any transfer. I think I just transferred 400 or 450,000, and I know I'm gonna make another transfer, so. But anyways, I do predict that we will still come out with 2023 with a surplus. So the other thing just shows the variance between what was budgeted and where we're projecting. We're saying that revenues are gonna come in about 7.5% higher than what we're budgeted, and expenses are gonna come in 3.6 less than what we budgeted. And a lot of that is due to the strength in our taxes at the township. Our real estate tax is strong. We have good collections with that. Also, earned income has been good over the past past few years, and property transfer has been a big one for us. And the expenditures obviously are less. Departments do a good job of staying within their budgets. However, the biggest savings is due to turnover in personnel, between the personnel costs. But again, we're anticipating about $1 million operating. $1 million operating surplus.
By the way, I don't know, I mean, we're in government, and we heard the word surplus. So, I mean, really honestly, for those at home who are watching, with their morning coffee. I mean, we sat here last year, 30 of us, and had to make tough decisions about what we were gonna do. And thought long and hard. That's an incredible job for the staff and everything that they've done, so that doesn't happen often, so. I don't want to gloss over it, we had the 95 people who were in the room on Monday. We would hope they would care about that, that's a big deal, so thank you for all this we've done there.
So now we're on to page 6. We're going to talk about the 2024 budget. And again, we start out with what we project our fund balance is going to start with. This is compared to 2023 to 2024. I have 17.2 in proposed budgeted revenue and 17.7 in expenses. Now, again, I'm very conservative with my numbers, so and it shows a small deficit. I say small of little over 400,000. That number has decreased since I put this together, just because of other numbers keep on coming in and I'm constantly changing it. So even with some things I'm waiting on, I think maybe the copy of the budget you guys got was 300 and some thousand. And I do not anticipate it, even with the fluctuation of numbers until we adopt the budget, that it would go higher than this. If anything, it's going to come lower. The last percentage, that's just a percentage of our expenses to the fund balance. So I just as a little analysis, but the variance between the two budgets are 1.1 revenues going into 2024 than we did in 2023, and 842 more thousand in expenses. So revenues increased 7% and expenses increased 5%. So in all these numbers, and because we're at a good point, and I feel that our operating deficit is pretty small. And again, this is a budgeted operating deficit, and over the past few years, even with as much as we spent in capital, we had very small deficits. So we've been doing a good job of holding our own, and we do, we put a lot of commitment into repaving roads and using money, and so in this budget, I don't propose a reason to increase real estate tax. So it does not include any increase.
So how long have you worked here?
13 years.
Is that the first time you ever recommended not to increase tax?
Yes.
I just want to make that clear. It's the first time our chief financial officer recommended raising taxes.
Right. Yeah. And like I said, the operating budget gap is 400, at this presentation was, you know, a little over 100,000. And then we have, and just to point out that, our refuse fees for trash and recycling will not increase for 2024. And I believe that's good through 2025.
Did we get the airspace lease from Pioneer? Did we get those updated numbers yet?
No, but I increased it per what the agreement said it could increase it, so, yeah. But I did not get those. And then on the next, slide, this is just the piece of the pie as far as we used to do the dollar bill, well, now I get a pie. So, the school district taxes, that was on their website, was 32.23 mils. Berks County still remains at 7.657, and Muhlenberg Township, I have a little typo, it's 5.3. It's 4.6 for general fund mills, 0.6 for fire, and 0.1 for the ambulance, so that is a little, we're going to change that. So, and this just goes to show you and people watching and people in the audience, just how small of a portion that your money goes to for taxes to run a township our size, with a police force of, you know, 30-some plus policemen, you know, all the roads that we do and all the stuff that we do. So on the next slide is the real estate tax assessed value. And again, just putting in perspective, if you have a home of $100,000, what you pay to the school district, what you pay to the county, and what you pay to the township. So for the average assessed home is a little over 100,000 in Muhlenberg Township. So you see it's $472. Now I did only put the 4.6 on this presentation because we're talking mainly about the general fund. So obviously it's 530 for $100,000 home in total for the taxes, but this was just for the general fund portion. Yeah. So that's why. So again, I was just kind of putting it in a money perspective, where the money goes within the township and the village.
Dawn, is that the first time I'm trying to look at our average assessment was over 100,000?
Yes, because I do it every year with the tax data.
Yeah, I remember like 89 and
It
90.
used to be like, yeah. So, so let's see. Let's go on to the next slide. And here we're just showing that what the assessed value has been for the past years from 14 to 2023. And there has been some fluctuation. You can see the 2023 value has increased from back in 2024. And usually we don't see that much of an increase. So that was, you know, a little shocking even to me because, you know, I don't. So, and then this is also the millage that we had for the past years. And as you can see, our trend is we don't raise taxes that often. We've been doing pretty good with holding our own, and so that's a good thing. So, and then the last column just shows you what the revenue is to the general fund at those different villages and different assessed value. I didn't get the 2024 assessed value yet from the county. Usually that comes in November. I'm hoping it's not too much less than that, but it's not going to change the number that much when you're talking only 4.6 mils. So anyways, I'm hoping actually so but we'll see. So here's just another little pie chart breaking up how it looks and where the different monies come from, how much portion of the total it is. So, and obviously our biggest piece of the pie is our real estate tax. Earned income is another good one for the township. We get strong earned income. And then we have our charges for services. And that's for everything that we do here at the township, including all our permits and fees and We get a little bit from the grant, and just all the other little ones, but that's what makes up our pie of all the revenue of 17.2 million. And on the next slide, we have that, again, we were, the revenue budgeted for 2024 is about 17.25 million, which is 1.1 million higher, 7% than 2023. Projected increases in business taxes is what's helping drive that number up. Department charges, interest income. I don't know if you remember last year, you allowed me to put open the plate accounts. They've been doing very well. So I hope to probably possibly transfer some more money over and keep that going strong. So they're the reason why I'm comfortable raising the revenue, because consistently we have been doing well in those areas. The only concern is, and maybe we'll look at this with the interest rates starting to go up. We've been, I mean, as you know, very strong in real estate transfer tax, more than I budgeted. Well, this year I was being a little optimistic, but now I'm thinking, you know, with the interest rates, it might slow the market a bit, but we'll just look at that. So anyway, and then this chart also just showed the differences where the changes came from and where that 1.1 million comes from as far as what revenues we increased and by how much. So and one of the ones that increased, when you see down in other revenue for 300 and some thousand, you might think what that is. That is for the school resource officers. So that's what that is. So now on our next slide, I did the same thing with our expenditures. And I did it by whether it's general government, police, public works, or code enforcement, I did it by department. And as you would expect, police cost the township the most. So out of that 472 or $530, you get a lot of police protection and everything. The next one would be public works, obviously taking care of your roads, your streets, everything from potholes to, you know, snow plowing, grass cutting. And then general government, just what it takes to run the government. That's the next piece. And then we have your parks and rec, debt service, and code enforcement.
Right now, 29.
29.
Yeah, we're authorized currently 33, but.
So then my little pie chart just breaks it up as far as the function, like what it goes to. So wages obviously is our highest expenditure, and employee benefits, personnel costs are the highest expenditure within the general fund. So, and as you can see, and we and the refuge collection, now again, that's all set by the revenue, but that's another big one. So. And then this is just the expenditures where the 2023 adopted budget was proposed for 24 and the change within those. And as you can see, they increased 850 some thousand or 5%. But again, that biggest portion is coming from your personnel. So other ones, you can look, you know, fluctuate very little as far as just running the township for our services and supplies and stuff like that. Our next slide is showing our personnel. I went from 15 to 23, and I think this is a very interesting chart because what was our census total before?
19,628.
Yeah, what, yeah. And
They
what is
were
it now?
22,000 and change.
Right, so it increased. So I just find it interesting that for all these years, how many years, and if you see this chart doesn't fluctuate. The one at the total is what the total number of employees have been, and you can see, that's really basically stayed the same. Okay, we might have peaked a little in 18, but then it came back down. So the township is growing as far as population wise, and I find it interesting that the township is able to still maintain the level of service we do with the same amount of people we basically had from 2014 for the same number of employees. So, and then the color codes just by department and everything. So in the general fund expenditures that are budgeted, we do have the hiring of 4 police officers. I wouldn't say they're new because they're replacing people or some additional ones. So, and I do have the 1 full-time mechanic in the new budget because it wasn't in the last budget, even though they may be hired in 2023, but I did include it in the 2024 budget. I did put a wage increase for non-union personnel of 3% across the board. And also the other increases were per the collective bargaining agreements.
Yes, ma'am.
And the reason I'm highlighting this next slide with the employee benefits is because personnel, like I said, and employee benefits are one of our biggest expenses within the township. And I just wanted you to see how the increases from PIMIC, which we're a member of, and how it has fluctuated over years, but our costs have actually not really increased too much. We've been, our claim performance, other than 2022, has always remained under the 100%, and we do get a money back because of that claim performance. I think this year, it's at 100 and I forget what we're going to be getting.
160 something.
Yeah, we're gonna be getting a check for that. So the rate increases, it shows what our rate has increased, and then this is like the township's increase. So again, our cost is maintained because of the turnover in personnel. And a lot of times when so we have savings there because obviously when we lose people. And on an interesting note, we have less retirees on your insurance anymore. So we're not paying the cost of the retirees right now, as we were. Many have reached Medicare age and have come off. So that helps with keeping the cost down. And then this one is just like I said. This is kind of showing our cost, what it costs. This is. I'm sorry, I changed the slide. Okay. So then the Teamsters are have their insurance through the Teamsters, and in their contract, it can't increase so much, or they would have to pay towards it. Well, it has never increased that much. Shocking, but it hasn't. So that's just more showing the same thing, the cost with that, you know, and we're very fortunate that we do not have to contribute too much towards our insurance, and so that's a big thing. And being part of the PIMIC group is also, I feel we've done well with them, just holding our costs and stuff like that. So now we're going to my next slide is just talking about the pension fund and the performance, well, not even the performance, just the annual MMO minimum municipal contribution that we have to make. So yeah, right. Well, at the time I did the budget, they had given me the calculation. However, since then, they have finished our actuary plan. So with that, the performance was different, you know, things they do. So we are going to have minor increases. So in November, I'll probably be bringing the new MMOs. And we don't have to adopt the new ones, but we should, because it's just gonna hurt us everyone because we have to make up that difference. So, And then just our life and, the life and disability premiums, they basically stay the same, so. This chart is showing, the outstanding debt, and we haven't taken debt out since, I think, 2019 was the last time we issued debt. And as you can see, yeah, in total, it seems like we move a lot of money, but if you look for all the remaining years, at least the four that are separated, it maintains the same amount. It's, and that's basically how it's meant to be, you know, spread the payments out, so. Anyways, but it's a good thing we haven't taken any out yet. So now we just move on to the next steps of the 2024 budget. We did have a request from the library. I did not include it in the budget. I believe they want our contribution to go from 65 to 75, something to consider. But again, I didn't include it in the budget. I would prefer this year if we can actually, and I think we did last year, to leave here and maybe have a number that I can put to the transfer to capital. I know the auditors, you know, they like to see that, and so I'd like to actually have a budget amount, maybe above. I know we obviously did 500,000, and we inflated the roads. I'd like to, you know, have a number plugged in there. And then, like I said, I didn't recommend any tax increase.
You whatever number you want, it doesn't mean spend it.
What's that?
Give you whatever number you want, doesn't mean we're gonna spend it.
Well, at least like a number.
No, I don't being able to relax.
Then when I, you know, all these bills come in, I'm not in shock and like, I didn't mind. So anyways, and then, since we have no increase, and if you're not going to increase the millage, then we, I guess we will take the shortfall, the budget shortfall from fund balance. And that's everything for the general funds. I don't know if anybody has any questions on that, or.
No, I mean, while we're on it, I think, the friends from the library would like to talk. I know we've gone through, we still do the public-private match.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, and that's been successful,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So while we're on it.
First, I'd like to thank the board for working with us as well as we do. I'd like to thank Karen because she has been absolutely invaluable to our board, to our library, to helping us with whatever we need in connection to you guys, as far as letting me bring, you know, things that they have extra that you guys have used. So us, you know, we don't have a huge budget in the library, and I just started as director. I was there for 2.5 years as the youth services coordinator. In that time, I built our youth services program exponentially. I started right after COVID. There were no programming. I made coordination and relationships with the school. We are having I think our Easter egg hunt, we had 300 children. Our trunk or treat last year, we had 200 children. The problem is staff. Right now I'm doing the youth services job as well as the director job. That position is very important in our library, because how close we are to the school, our proximity to actually all 3 schools. So we have children coming in all the time. The problem is hiring staff, and it's almost embarrassing to me when I have to offer someone with a bachelor's and a master's degree less to run a huge program at the library than the guy who's serving us Chick-fil-A at the drive-thru. So it's been really hard to find someone. This increase would definitely help in hiring quality staff, and keeping the staff that we actually do have. I feel like we finally have a very core group of dedicated individuals and staff. And if you came out to the library, you could ask any one of our patrons, and they'll tell you that our staff, they like to come to the library because of our staff, because of how welcome they feel, and I don't want to grow. The raise in the budget would definitely extremely help in us hiring a qualified youth services person for our program to keep it moving and going forward. I've had applications. You would not believe the people that are interested in the job. They have no qualifications, but like I said, it's hard to hire someone like myself. I have a bachelor's and a master's degree. I was a teacher before I came there. I was the director before I came there. And it was still hard for me to even survive on what I was being offered. So, that would be a huge, huge help for us in continuing to build the library and make it the best that we can for our community, because that's my hope in the long run. I want to be able to serve our community with anything from, you know, our older patrons on computers, all of our youth service programs, which we provide, you know, 99% entirely free for our community. So, we're asking for a little bit of help if you guys can. I keep hearing that surplus word, so that sounds great. But we're working for you guys, we're working for your families, we're working for our community, and that's really what I'd like to build here in this community, is a viable library that's open for anyone to come in and use, and to be available, and to come in for things that you guys actually want to do and see. Bring your kids out to our programs, and to do that well, we need staff.
Well, Melissa, can you tell me when we put your budget?
My head. And just to interject a little bit about staff, you have to understand, each of these employees at the library do not have healthcare benefits. So getting paid almost as much as a Chick-fil-A person, and then they still have to go out and get insurance unless they have significant other spouse that picks it up for them, you know, and that's very hard to retain people in that condition. I mean,
The reason I bring up the budget is I go there a lot.
Yes.
Not just to get my James Patterson books, but I go there a lot with my grandchildren. And the reading and the different programs that take place. I see people of all ages using the library.
Yes.
People who can't afford the internet are using the library. English as a second language classes are at the library. All these things are happening there, and I know they look for money. I mean, the renters, God bless renters, these seats is $1,000 a year we get, you know, for the library. But you know, they look for fundraisers all over the place to kind of get money into that budget. But the budget of $280,000 is I don't know how they do it. One figure.
Well, you can ask.
sorry.
Right.
And they go try to really get grants. They've been very successful at getting grants, whether it be, you know, just with some computers or some classes or teen reading lounge, you know, they really seek those out. So they're just not saying, we need tax dollars to make the job easier. They actually go out and seek that.
We do, yeah, I mean, I'm constantly looking for grant money, I'm constantly working on grants, working with people to get grants. I am doing the best I can to bring money in, I had my little ones make, bookmarks so that we can just get a little extra money at the craft fair, this weekend, so we really are trying hard to be one of the best libraries in Stark County, and I want to continue to work that way. I feel like this community, I haven't been here very long, but it's very special. I feel like it's very family oriented. You guys all seem to know each other, and I'm learning all the little nuances. So, I mean, this would, like I said, greatly help, and like Steve just said, I mean, we try our best to do as much as we can to fundraise, but we also want to continue to offer these programs to our community at low or no cost at all. I mean, as a public library, my dream is to offer everything to our community for free. We are a public library, and we don't just, you know, let books. It's a community area. We try to make sure we get kids off the street with our teen program. You know, our youth programs are thriving. I know Mary's come to a couple of my story times where we sometimes have 60 kids. And so from nothing. So, and we have a very, very close group of following of moms that donate snacks and stuff like that, but it doesn't cut it when it comes to staff, and staff is extremely important, as you know. When you walk in, you want to feel welcomed by the staff, you don't want to feel like everyone's carried, you want everything where you want it. When Steve's looking for his James Patterson books, he wants someone there that can help him find them. But it's really important to us and to the community to be able to do that, so. That's what we're asking for.
Commissioners, thoughts, feedback? What do we do? Decision time?
Where are we at with this now?
The reserves here.
Yeah.
You mean what okay.
Yeah,
Technically, 7.6 million is what we have right now. Now we take the 3.5 all that on the set aside, so. About 4 million. I do want to clarify something about, when Mike asked about the match. We match up to 10,000.
Yeah.
So if they fundraise 15, we still only have 10.
We are working hard on fundraising. In case any of you all would like, after this, we have the craft fair over at the high school today. We have 59 vendors, so we're really excited.
as my grandfather would say, buggy boot is the capital fund and we always keep putting money in there for a new truck or and that brings down our general fund money, and that's always been my concern is we're taking money out of that, not putting money in. I think that this is a good investment in our community. I know there's other people that are gonna be wanting money too. And that's the budget. You know, where do we decide where this money goes? I think a library is a good investment. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I guess I'd comment the same thing. I think the library is an excellent investment, especially when you talk about the youth, the future of the township. And I'm not familiar, obviously, as Commissioner Wolfinger is with all the activities you perform, but those youth, they're important. I guess the only question I would have is, I always like to look at metrics, comparisons to other townships or other community libraries. How much is our township contributing towards the Muhlenberg Community Library versus Exeter, Guru, anybody else that has, are we in the same?
I can get you that paperwork, if you'd like.
I mean, it's not
Yeah.
important,
I think we're, honestly, I think we're lower.
Yeah.
definitely lower than
Yeah.
Exeter.
Yeah, and spring.
Yeah.
I mean,
Spring out.
some of the components that the library gets money from the state and the county is formulated with how much the
Yes.
township
Yeah.
gives. And they're really making a push to get more per capita for individuals, and that money is all tied together. So if you were to give this 10,000, they would get more state and they would get more county money.
Exactly.
So it would compound it, which would even make it a better thing for.
And Sorry. I would also like to just mention, I'm not sure if you all are aware, but the school library, the high school library is non-existent. There is no librarian, they're not allowed to use the library. The library is, since COVID, has been virtually closed to the students. So, we have been working with the high school in order to get all of our high school students library cards. And I volunteered to go over and, run some classes for them to learn how to do citations and references, because these kids are going into college without knowing how to write an essay. In essence, so, I mean, that's a huge part of what we're working on too, towards our, and none of that is free, you know that, so, that would also help greatly in helping the school with our children, because in essence, I mean, that's our future truly. I know it sounds corny, but they're not getting what they need from the school, and we're so close to school. I'd like to be able to help. That's just me. I'd like to be able to help those teens get where they need to be before we send them off, not knowing. It upsets me that there's no library at the high school tremendously. I talked to them about that, but so I am helping them with that. So this would go a great way in helping. So I understand you guys have to figure everything out, but.
You know, we'll recommend, I think,
that Dawn makes the final budget with an additional $10,000.
Thank you so much.
And I appreciate it. We would write a letter to the school district to understand why our school library is closed. If someone can write that letter.
Our high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First I heard that
You too.
since COVID.
I didn't realize it was that long. I really only heard about this maybe 2 months ago.
Yeah.
That it was-
I was surprised when my teens came in and told me, and I was like, stop, I didn't believe them. And then an English teacher from high school came over to talk to me, to ask me if there was anything we could do to help. So we're actually trying to get all of their high school students public library credit.
Wow. Well, thank you, Melissa, for your presentation. We're gonna include the additional 10,000 unanimously on the board for the library.
I hate to eat and run, we appreciate that, but I'm gonna head over to the craft fair now so that I can keep fundraising and getting more money. I appreciate all of your time and patience, and thank you again, Karen. I don't know what we do without you, Karen. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you all again.
Thank you, Rich.
And like I said, if you guys have time today, stop by the craft fair. I know Mary will be there. Thank you guys so much.
So I guess the only other decision is just on it, which I'm assuming we're gonna just plug the gap with fund balance reserves.
Yeah, was that on, this day this week, Wednesday, Thursday, there was a midday meeting, the county had a meeting on an update on their Imagine Burks planning program. I think it's, what's the name off the top of my head, the GRAC, who actually ran the meeting. It was supposed to be about an hour long. They were at an hour and a quarter, and I had to drop because I had another meeting to attend. One of the important takeaways for me from the Imagine Burks update was, and if you're not familiar with it, you know, there is a website that you can access. The county is doing their planning. And I think this is probably one of the first plans that I'm aware of at the county level that has really pulled together a lot of information, and, you know, they're actually tackling the issue of housing, this lack of housing in the county for the workers that they want to bring in, you know, so they can pump in more business and so forth and so on. But anyway, yeah, one of the important things, and it was actually Pam Minute. You know, she was really reinforcing the idea that the county is not just looking at new construction, especially for business and housing. You know, that they want to maintain a focus on redevelopment. And I think, you know, for me, that's important for Muhlenberg because, you know, as we talked about, especially with our comp plan, you know, there's a need for redevelopment. Because we don't have a lot of area left to do new development. You know, so go on, like your comment on, like the interest rates and things going up. You know, I think that even if the housing market cools a little, you know, that there's still a great demand for housing. So I think that, you know, we'll still see those types of things. And the business climate is kind of up in the air, you know, those kind of real estate transfers that we've seen in the past. I don't know that we'll see a lot of that. But I think because the county is pushing, you know, for redevelopment, and we just did our comp plan in conjunction with the county so that they know that we're looking, you know, to bring business in, and we are right for that. You know, I think we're in a good spot, even if the economy tanks a little bit. You know, that there are some good things that would be on the horizon for us. My only concern is, I mean, I know we still have a lot in reserve, you know, that's a pretty good amount of money. And, you know, 500,000 is not a huge amount to move, but I do get concerned that we've been dipping to reserve, the balanced budget on the last couple of years, and, I don't like the idea of raising taxes, but I get a little leery about continuing to dip into that reserve, knowing, you know, that, you know, not knowing some of the things that we may be facing down the road. You know, we were just, you know, we talk about NPA and the amount of money they have and why they're not using it. You know, our needs are a little bit different. But that's, you know, before we make any kind of final recommendation, that's just my hang up at the moment.
Well, we've been maintaining our level of fund balance for, at least 5 years now. And we've been doing a lot of projects. And I think it says a lot that we maintain that level. We haven't really dipped below, what I say concern. Obviously, you have to continue to invest in our township as far as things we're doing. So you're either going to take from general fund reserves, or we can get grant money, which we've been getting some good grant money, or or you issue debt. So to your concern, I guess what I'm trying to say is we maintained a level and we've still been putting millions into the township. So I think that says a lot about us, you know, how we invest this fund balance. We're not here to make it grow up to 10 million.
Right.
Because obviously you have to maintain stuff. I'm just saying now, with looking into the fire, I wouldn't recommend a general fund millage increase. Just because I think we're still in a good spot. You know, and even through COVID, the township did very well through COVID, better than a lot of municipalities. So that was something good too. Like you would think of anything, that would have been a year we really might have had, you know, but we continued to do our, you know, business as usual and get things done and purchase things. So yeah, so that's, you know, just to put in perspective, we really haven't dipped below the level that I feel is too concerning. And knowing going into the fire fund, I just want to recommend that. General, we said this stuff. Well, I think the fire fund's gonna be here.
Well, and to Mike's point earlier, I mean, I don't think I've ever sat here in the last almost 10 years and heard you say that
Right.
you shouldn't,
Yeah.
there's no recommendation. But
I know, I hope this don't come back.
You make some really, I mean, Dawn, you make really valid points. You've been doing this for a long time, and I've come to trust your judgment and your recommendations. I mean, it's a very thorough presentation. You know, it's just my little nagging suspicion about, you know, just having, and again, it's not that we don't have good amount of fun there.
Right,
It's just,
right,
and it's not a huge amount
right.
that we're looking at.
Mhm.
I mean, and that's a testament to the staff and all the employees of the township. Right, they all continue to perform at a high level. You know, I really don't hear complaints about service, not on a regular basis. I mean, people complain, yeah, they complain, but I think we've done an awful lot with what we have. We have a lot of roads to maintain. We have a lot of park area to maintain. You know, it is a big area, a lot of people that have the proper police enforcement. Our codes, I think, has stepped up their game, you know, over the last couple of years. So, yeah, so estimate for that.
So for the general fund, you want a recommendation for what to put in the capital in and out, or?
I don't know if you wanna wait to the capital slide just to see what we're looking for, unless you just wanna give me a number.
No, we'll wait till the
Here's
capital.
a slide.
I mean, just so you have an idea of what people are asking.
I mean, to your point, Dawn, and you know, Commissioner Hart said it, it's pretty unbelievable for the last, whatever, 5-6 years, we've been sitting here in that fund, as much as we invested with Jeremy Rose and other shit and the stuff we've done and to maintain basically a $4 million fund balance and not deplete it
Right.
is unbelievable.
Yeah,
For the amount of
because
money.
believe me, I know how fast it can deplete, so it's amazing how fast it does, so it is truly a testament to the operations and, the staff here at the township, the decisions the commissioner made that we've been able to maintain a fund balance. So now we'll move on to the fire fund. And this is where the tough decisions come in. So, since the merger, and some changes in personnel with fire, it's been a whole reorganization, basically, the operations are different, and I think it's moving into the direction that I would, that I think is good for the township. But with that comes cost, and over the past few years, even, after the merger, the general fund has been supplementing the fire fund. So if the fire fund has a deficit, that money comes from the general fund. Now, right now, sitting there from 2022 into 23, the fire fund technically owes the general fund $125,000. I have not taken that in 2023 yet, because I wanted to see how we come at the end of the year. But right now, it does have a liability that it owes the general fund money. So that is, and hopefully we can get some of it back. Hopefully they end with at least not in a deficit. Put it that way. So that's why I haven't touched it, because if I would take it, they would end in a deficit. So no sense of taking that, I have to go right back to it. So, and with that being said, so obviously the fire fund, the really only source of revenue is the 0.6 mils that they get from real estate tax. And so right now, there's a slight increase just because, the tax collections have been strong. It's under 10,000 that the budget is going to grow for revenue from 2023 to 2024. However, the expenses are proposed to grow 210,000 and or 27.7%. Now that is due to the fact that Alex has proposed hiring some full-time employees, changing some things out. So basically that whole cost increase is going to be personnel related increase. Like I said, the budget gap for that's, $200 and some thousand dollars, or almost $300,000. And as you can see from the next slide, the fire fund expenditures, if you go through them, their debt service stays about the same. Now, interestingly, I think their debt service, most of it ends in 22 things that will come off next in 2025.
About this time next year.
Right, and then I think there's another loan that's coming.
Hopefully in 2025.
Right, yeah, 2025, I think two of them. They're not $5, it's not saving a ton of money. Just saying though, we do have some debt that's coming to an end with the fire fund. But like I said, the biggest cost is if you choose to take Alex's recommendations and hire the employees. So I'm going to let Alex talk a little bit more about that and what he's proposing to you. We sat down and discussed it. I think he has a very well thought out plan. So I think it's worth him speaking of it. So.
Yeah, so as we kind of kept everyone in the loop with our trending calls for this year, we're pushing, 69 calls, all volunteers in Bergen County really have doing that in response to volunteer personnel. My kind of proposal after talking with Jim, I think we're at that point. I think there's been discussions in the past couple of years that maybe they at that point with supplemental career staff, what that looks like. Whether it's part-timers, whether it's full-timers, I kind of lean towards hiring full-timers to start. I think Monday to Friday, some sort of schedule in that time period will be a starting point, and we can kind of grow on that in the future if needed. I think it'll provide a lot of stability for the fire department. It'll help us with a lot of logistics during the week and just general maintenance items of, equipment, station, moving trucks around. And obviously too, be able to provide additional staffing for responses. So taking everything into consideration where we're at now, we're stretched that, the volunteers are during the day, after hours, we're getting trucks out, but about 3.5% this year, we failed to respond entirely, which that's 3.5% too much in my opinion. So having career staff will reduce that. It's not going to be a full-blown fix, but it's a starting point. And I think we need to look at that here, maybe second quarter, beginning of third quarter this year for hiring for supplemental staffing. So my proposal was taking consideration, the job market being competitive, seeing where other fire departments are hiring at. I had put in here a max salary range of 57.5. I think that's a little bit above average. It's competitive. I've seen other places in Berks County hire, for example, Muhlenberg Township hired a year and a half ago. They were in the low 50s and they've already lost 2 to 6 people that they hired. So I kind of look at that, with the job market. I know the police department is seeing that with, finding quality candidates, just the competitive of the market. So that's kind of how I came up with my numbers, but we can talk further about salaries with, HR and kind of do a better analysis and make sure we kind of confirm my thoughts. But the money here is basically 3/4 of the year, 57.5 plus the benefits. So kind of where we're at with everything.
Chief, we talked at length, and Chief did a great job explaining to me about, because I asked him about the salary and if 2 was enough. And he explained to the board a little bit, he explained to me about total service, that kicks in.
Yes, I believe for us, if we hire them through the township, civil service kicks in. If we hire 3 or more, we have to do civil service. So your point is to enough. Probably not, but it's a starting point. We haven't had career staff. It'll take some time to integrate them with the volunteer system. If you hire more than 2, you can kind of shock the system, and it might be more difficult to integrate. I thought it was a great way to start with 2. It's good for the budgeting process here, as well as we just slowly integrate them with the volunteer system, stabilize everything, kind of push forward with them, and then maybe the following year add another 1 or 2. If that makes sense. That's kind of my thought. I just thought it was good.
For the board, we were dreaming last year of going through a safer grant and getting basically free firefighters for a period of time, and then gradually supplement their pay with our money. That did not work out. The regulations of how to run a safer grant changed to the point where I don't even think the city of Reading will go through a safer grant. You have to hire so many people, and you have to have so many people that are working already. It just wouldn't work out for any.
So they hear the minimum staffing requirements that they kind of set forth, that without having no paid staffing, they're going to basically put them for 24/7 coverage.
And my concern was, do we hire full-time or part-time? Maybe with part-time, you could spread them out a little bit more, you have more people to choose from. But I defer to the chief, he feels that 2 full-time is the best way to go.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the part-timers, we save a little bit, you're not paying benefits. I think stability wise and consistency, full-timers would be better. We're doing the incentive program with the volunteers for volunteer staffing. That's sort of like having part-timers. If we want to do the part-time idea, we probably need to hire 8 or 12 people just to get it up to kind of have full coverage at 2 career staff. 4 people. So that's kind of my thought with it. I would lean towards, yes, there really is more of an effect, but I would lean towards, 2 4. Yeah, perspective, do the versus having 2 to 12. It's gonna be a little easier for me to kind of answer that, and totally, you know, bogged down with having, 8 to 12, having all the volunteers. So, that might also.
No,
Is there,
no, go ahead.
okay, is there any relationship between, I don't know, maybe I'll use response rate for paid fire drivers versus the cost of my homeowner's insurance? The reason I bring that up is so we may increase the fire fund, but maybe in a year or two, I see my homeowners go down because we have a better response rate and we have paid drivers. No. Okay.
It's not really.
Jonathan is.
Sorry.
The only thing that really comes into play is protection plan, which that fact is the ISO assessment that we had recently done. That's where that would come into play. Not all insurance companies, I know State Farm doesn't need to use ISO to make any just premium adjustment, rate adjustment.
If it is, there's the very small factors they take in consideration. I will say that the safety, the emergency that we have seen this past years, how they're responding, there is definitely a need to do something. So I do agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think the board's decision is, if we agree with the chief, in my particular opinion, not just one of us, is I think we've been talking about this, it's time we have full-time drivers. And the residents have to understand just as what it is. It's no different from us, I think, having a conversation with the water authority. Not to bring that up again, it's what's the best for the safety and health of our residents and taxpayers. The question is, if we put the full-timers on with premium with the chief's recommendation, is do we fund it out of reserve or do we increase the fire fund benefit? So I think that's the ultimate question. And I think as much as it pains me, because unfortunately, I think the school district was very aggressive and unfortunately made decisions because it's the same household. I think to be fair to everyone that I'd be in favor of raising the millage to what Dawn and the chief recommend because it is for fire services. I mean, it's for the first time ever in our history as a community to have paid firemen for their safety and protection, as much as it pains me to say it, because I'm the last one of that wants to not take out of reserve, but I think it's appropriate here because it is its own fund. So that's only my opinion, so that's the way that I go.
And to even if you would say, we're not gonna go with the career firefighters, we still really have a need to increase the millage, just overall.
Yeah, it's already in a deficit state.
Right, so, I mean, you know, at that point, you know, how much you wanna keep on funding, there is a need. However, I agree with the chief, I agree with, you know, this is what the merger was for, this is what the township is building towards, and with that comes a cost. And again, you know, raising it 1.1 mil is 115,000 revenue, you know, 230 for 2 and 3 is 340 some. So, so for fire protection, you know, you're paying $60 on $100,000 home for fire protection, which is very cheap, you know, and the response time and all the calls they go to. So I think people have to put that in perspective, you know, what you're paying to have this service and this protection within the township. And, you know, even with increasing it per household is a huge increase for what they're going to gain response. So, so yeah, so if we went on to the next slide, it just shows you what the potential increase, I'm sorry, would cost the homeowner within different assessed values, so. So I guess it's determined, I would recommend a 0.3 increase. That's.
Relax. Got our ambulance friends here in the back.
Yeah.
Well, you know, you heard my comments. I mean, I'd be in favor of 0.2, honestly, because we have to talk about the ambulance and like that. That's
Right.
my opinion for now. You were doing so well. Honestly, that's my, I'd love to hear from the rest of the board, so you hear that I'm kind of saying like that, so.
It's like the conversation that never stops. No, that's true. I mean, obviously, we've been talking about this for a long, long time. And you know, when we first started the merger process. You know, and I think I always said that sooner or later, we are going to end up where we are going to have a fully funded department. Now, the idea is being, and that is in no way a dig against the volunteers. Yeah, the volunteers have provided a service for a long, long time. And those who still volunteer continue to provide that service. But, you know, the reality has been that we have been losing volunteers. You know, that the township did have to step in and get an idea about what the actual costs were, what the funding was like, you know, and we have to have some kind of protection. And I think, you know, some of the arguments that I've made over the years have been to take incremental steps to take us to where we all know eventually we're going to have to be. So the idea, Chief, that, you know, you're looking for 2 as opposed to 3, you know, to not, you know, kind of overwhelm the system. And, you know, I think you've done a great job at retaining volunteers. And, you know, if I understand, you know, we're still getting volunteers. You know, there's been some interest in volunteers we lost coming back. I think those are fantastic things. So, you know, this is just another incremental step to take us where, again, we know where we're going to end up. You know, again, the CELG, it's been a topic of conversation. It kind of died off with COVID for a while, but, you know, they've been pushing again about, you know, the whole emergency response issue. You know, firefighters and EMS, and, you know, they talk great lengths about some projects and discussions coming up, you know, that affects the entire community, all of Berks County, all of Pennsylvania for that matter. So, you know, I mean, sooner or later, we knew we were gonna get to this point. So, yeah, I think I'll point to, I would be okay with it.
Definitely agree. We need to do something. I think last year we went through the same conversation. And because of the economy, we try to avoid any type of increase. But Don explained this last year too. We are at a point that we do need to make a change. So I will be in agreement on the question.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm in agreement with 0.2 yet, so I hear more about the ambulance that go 0.2, 0.3, 0.2 minimum. I'm not sure where I am with that yet, but I do agree with everybody saying that we need to provide fire protection. And there's a gap in the ability to do that with volunteers. And we can fill that thanks to Alex's analysis with 2 paid drivers who can fill that void without huge, you know, tax increase and continue to work on finding new volunteers and involvement. So maybe we don't have to get to the level we think of paid staff. And I like the idea of integrating just 2 paid full-time people into the system. Because there's going to be policies and there's going to be, do I do this now as a volunteer? Paid driver do that? Yeah, it's good to do it the way you're proposing. So I'm in favor of it. I'm just not sure about the.
I don't have a problem with 0.2. I overheard a conversation at 0.25 or 3 before. And maybe if we have to pull some out of the general fund, if it's not enough. Okay. I think that the chief also has to look at other ways of generating and saving money. I mean, at Albright College, it was calls all the time, you know, we keep going out there, keep going out there, keep going out there. You know, I think in lieu of tax or something, there should be some type of money coming into the fire fund from some of our businesses. And I think there's ways of generating money. Say we have 3 different buildings that we heat, that we don't use 2 of them a lot. And I look at the ambulance association as that we can piggyback with some of these expenses in the buildings. I think there's ways of saving money. But I would go along with 0.2 to answer your question. I think we need to have some pay.
Yeah, there's definitely things that I'm looking at here to, kind of not cut spending, but save stuff. Some utility stuff, we've realized that we're spending, one example is there's iPads that were, being paid for $6,000 a year. So there's things like that that I'm looking at to cut costs, kind of going through everything. Through the first budget process here, kind of caught my attention to some items that maybe we can cut costs just to, stay ultimately. As noted in here, the fire village has been the same since 2013, so we've been doing, having to do a lot less with the same amount of money.
The danger here is that, the fire department was always on its own,
Sure.
and we gave him 0.6.
Mhm.
And you guys had to really watch what you were spending and that type of thing. And as you become more under the umbrella of the township, sometimes it's, the heat goes up a little bit more than it should, or whatever. When you hire staff, there's that 3% increase every year. So you gotta think, okay, what's gonna happen next year? Is another tax increase next year? You have to watch your tax belt. Because, that's big.
Yeah, and we do a good job working with the association. That's about $130,000 a year that we get from state aid money. So that goes to, upgrading equipment, training costs, personal protective gear. So without having that money, we get a different sort of, we kind of strategically work with the association to kind of make sure none of those costs are incurred by the town.
And God bless you, you got a truck for free. That saved us $200,000.
Yeah,
I mean,
at least, yeah.
keep working.
And with the added mechanic that we're gonna be adding in now, there's gonna be definitely savings throughout the year. Clearly, they don't really have a preventative maintenance program in the fire with all their take-home vehicles and all the stuff. Now, we won't be able to work on everything, but we will save a pretty decent amount of money per year just servicing their smaller stuff.
Another important thing to remember, when Alex talked about the relief money, that money will not be able to be used for career staff equipment.
Yeah.
There will come a point in time, if your company does go full paid, that the township or the fire company will have to acquire all of those assets that were purchased with relief money. If the relief association in the long run tries that.
All right, well, Dawn, sorry, Wolf, I mean, 0.2 by the majority, so you're done. See, just two quick things to follow, just one quick question here, is, Laurel Downs, do they have any full time?
Laurel Downs?
Yeah, I was just curious. And if you could, for the sake of the board, whether I'm here or not, that we talked about in the firehouse about the 5-10 year apparatus replacement plan. Sure. I know we used to have one. I don't know if I've seen one in a while. I don't know if you saw one during your merger process, but those are the big ticket items. Now, you can't buy a fire truck for what, 1.5.
So, I know. About, the engine is, $800,000 or $1 million. There's like $5.6 million. Those costs, right, in the last 2 years, costs have increased to $300,000. However, right now, I don't want to say we're in dire need of anything, but we should start looking soon, potentially at a new ladder truck or a new engine. Lead times are 3 to 4 years out. And, if we keep waiting, we're, you order today, you're 4 years out.
I think chief, if you just like the pump or the ladder, that's your language, you kind of give us, the 10-year platform, and then we're back in the debt service, what it will cost, all that stuff, so we can have some sort of a solid capital plan. Sure. For apparatus, because I don't know the last time that I've seen a YouTube award-winning fire merger people.
I know there was I think it's been an apparatus plant at some point that I had saw paperwork.
If you just share it.
Sure, yeah.
We can get, they're big ticket items, and I know you said they take 3 or 4 years to get, so we're gonna bring the decision probably.
Yeah,
Soon. Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Good,
So 0.2 it is. So now we're gonna move on to, state aid, liquid fuels money, all money given to us from the state to maintain our roads. 75 mile of roads. And as you see, our population did go up almost 23,000. And our money this year, I got the estimated allocation from the state, the estimate is gonna be 626,000. A little over that, turn back aid, remains the same at 12.5. And out of the state aid money, we do pay the electric bills for street lights. To offset some of the costs that would tend to go to the general fund if we didn't have that, so in case for the interest of that. And for debt service for the PIV loan, that we took out in 2015, that was to pay for roads, right? It was $3.5 million or something, or $3 million, I think we took out, yeah. That is coming to an end in 2025. Then you'll see, you'll have decisions to make, because even with electric staying the same, if the amount given to us maintains the 600 and some thousand, there'll be an extra 300 and some thousand that you can put towards back into things to offset some of the stuff. So, or we can take out another PIT loan and do something else, but things to think about are low interest loans, we pay about what, 325,000 a year for the 10 years. So right now there's a little unallocated fund balance there. That keeps growing just a little because some of the expenses with street lighting comes in a little bit less. So or we get more than the state said we're going to get, which is usually the case. So they usually give us a little bit more, not much.
Dawn, quick question, the PIV loan in 2025, is that end of year end, when does that end?
I believe year end.
Because I just thinking long term, because if that money just gets pushed right into the road, you know what I mean? So
Right.
Yeah, well, where's liquid fuels here? Road, right?
Right.
Close to the there. But, yeah, just so we keep that in mind for future quarters, that, to allocate that money directly to
The roads,
Yeah, which is, once again, we talk about keeping the fund balance flat, finding where money is, so.
And honestly, you're limited what you're allowed to do.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, so other than that, this is you, just a little bit of knowledge regarding the liquid fuels fund. Now we'll move on to capital. So, like I said earlier in the presentation, we've been fortunate, having taken up debt since 2019, and been maintaining, doing projects, doing the corridor, although it was a grant. The township invested a lot of money into that corridor, besides up and above the grant. So it's things like that, the little bit of money that we get from taxes has been going for. So I guess, to Commissioner Wolfinger's point, and I think, Kevin Lurt, sometimes I do get a little nervous of the spending of, some of the capital, especially because we came off of some big projects. And like I said, though, we're fortunate enough that we have a depleted fund balance to maintain, to do these things, to purchase, equipment for our roads crew or whatever it is. So, I asked everybody, the department heads to, put together, things they're thinking. The police department is asking for 2 vehicles. I think, Chief said that this puts them back maybe on the rotation schedule that we kind of got away from in the past years. They want a UTV vehicle. You might want to ask him more about that. He wants some more pistols, for, I guess, for all the police officers, or
Yes.
yes. So I don't know, his total comes to about $240,000. works. So I don't know if you have any questions for him, don't,
Well, I can comment on the police department, the pistol, first of all. And I was on the board at the time about 5 years ago, in order to delay the purchase of new pistols, they did a refurbishment program of the existing weapons. So that 5 year time frame is up now, and to the point where now you have to replace the barrels on the pistols and mechanisms. It gets very expensive and doesn't extend the life as far as purchasing a new weapon. So I very much support the purchase of the new weapons. The two police vehicles, again, the history was for a couple of years their vehicles were not being purchased. We were running into, and we have to remember, those are run 24/7. They're not just sitting there waiting. If we get a call to stop, they're out there running 24/7. You need a vehicle that's reliable, and you need a vehicle that's safe. So I'm okay with the two additional police vehicles, but similar to what we asked here from the fire chief, I'd like to see a 10-year vehicle plan maybe for the police department, just to get an idea of one next year, be the following year, and what's the basis for it, so that the board knows what the future holds. UTV, I won't say I'm not supportive of it or I'm negative of it. I'd like to hear more from the chief about the value of the UTV and the need for it.
Sure. As you all know, we have roughly, I'm gonna say 1.8 miles of rails to trail. We have a park system over at Jim Dietrich. The current or existing trails that are in the, and around the rec center, plus say 2.5 miles of 3 miles of additional trail in the Silken Basin. The rails to trail per se is not really accessible by vehicle. We have to really get out, unlock the gate, etc. There's a lot of other places that we found, especially in the business complex there off of Brush Valley, that runs, the rail trail goes pretty much right through. We have a lot of ferries in there. We have storage facilities, and a lot of because it's pretty much inaccessible to us. We also use it for obviously the Spring Fiesta, River Fest. We've been fortunate enough to borrow a vehicle from Westernburg's ambulance. Their unit is aging. I just think it would give us an opportunity or ability to respond to emergencies on those trails, and additional to do some patrolling of trails. I don't know when the trail system and the base is going to be completed. But I also reached out to Senator Schwank, Representative Rozzi, and Madeline Dean to see if there's any state or federal funding. Unfortunately, for police departments, roughly about 2.5, 3 years ago, all the ATV or UTV manufacturers stopped their law enforcement grants. They're still available to fire and EMS, but not to us to obtain those types of vehicles. So having said that, I reached out to them to see if they have any money in their allocations that they could push towards that project, but I have not heard anything from them.
Any ability for some working together with the fire department. With your ATV.
Probably open to anything. In this case, having something that's set up for them is gonna work much better. Obviously ours has a tank and a pump in the back, fire equipment, so. Good one is needed. Eating where needed. That's
And I think to manage some of the costs of the chief agreed, we're not gonna put like a county radio in that we should have, we'll buy portable radios. We're not gonna put a mobile data terminal in it like the police cars have. This would be a local response to the correct.
Correct.
I always say once in weeks.
Steve,
What do we need, what do we want?
well, I was gonna talk to Jerry.
If there's grants for EMS, and that helps you get what you need, by all means, you can use our name or whatever.
Well, my concern, because I was actually gonna do that with dollars for the fire as well, but my concern with that is. Then you run into issues, how the vehicle's being used, who per se owns it. Then you talk about liability, if something happens, there's an accident or something else. If our solicitor says that's okay, yeah, I'm all for that, I don't care who pays for it. But yeah, absolutely.
I'm not sure, as without more discussion at this part, but I know me and Mr. Malinowski have had many discussions of UTVs being needed in the park system. Yada, yada, yada. If somehow on the maintenance side and the police side, because you're not gonna patrol 24/7.
Right.
You're only gonna run whenever you run, but during the daytime. Parks maintenance could utilize it on a maintenance side to maybe, like Steve said, kind of do more with less in that kind of thing, so.
And there's
a lot.
additional expenses of trail running and where are we gonna stick it? And that whole thing.
Yeah.
I'm not saying no, but I'm just saying maybe we should just take this.
I mean, I think for me, and I think what I'm hearing, as a cabinet, is, you know, just the vehicles, and I do think we need to see a schedule and the new pistol, because we put that off, so I do support just to get that done, put in the budget, the UTV, I think if we could somehow cooperatively, my opinion, get it without, I mean, because yeah, they all have two legs to it, to get the hell out off the trail. Don't get them all mad. Yeah, yeah, they get the out on me, but I think if there's a way we can utilize it with the appropriate funding of the whole, I understand the need of it, but it is gonna sit there a lot of time unused. For that number, so I just asked we would dig into that a little further. For that, from the guns and the vehicles, I would think of just moving forward with that.
What happens to the current weapons, the weapons we're replacing?
Currently, the last quote that I got, which was roughly a month ago, we get a trade-in value for those. So historically, what the department of the township has done is hypothetically, that trade-in value per weapon is $300. We would first offer it to our members that if they're wanting to buy their pistol for that amount, they just basically reimburse the township. Otherwise, those guns are, in essence, we have to make sure that they're at least serviceable at the time. Clean them, et cetera, and depending on who the agent is that we're buying them from, we just basically, here's our guns. I mean, they compensate us so much per weapon, depending on what that trading value is at that time.
Thank you.
So just like add something to that. I did not include any trade-in value. Because I have no idea what that's gonna be. Because the weapons are in the condition that they're in, sometimes, again, depending on where we buy them from, they will really go gun by gun. Say, okay, this one is worth 300, this one's worth 200. And without having that variable, I didn't include it.
No, that's fine, I kind of remembered that we offered weapons for sale, like retiring and those kind of things. I just remember the conversation when we looked at this the last time. I'm good with vehicles, I'd like to see the schedule again, and I thought the lieutenant was gonna put something together. Or had something, I just don't remember seeing it, same with the fire apparatus, I just don't remember seeing anything out of it. It's every 2 years, or whatever. The UTV, I kind of understand the need for it. Especially as we develop trails and we have the people over, you know, and we're looking, I like the idea that officers are out. On foot, kind of movement, but I'm not saying there's not a need for it. It's certainly something we can look at, but if there's a way to kind of combine that with something that parks might need or.
Thank you.
And I know in the past, we haven't really had these discussions up front in the budget, with capital. I just think it's important because I think, I don't want to say we lose track, but you tend to, when we're doing it with, as far as, if the departments don't put their needs here and we look at it here, not that we have to approve each, to Mike's point, I mean, you can make up your mind, it's to just put a budget number. But I think it's good to have these discussions while people are here, we can all hear it. And also to get it fresh in our mind, what it does cost us for our capital, instead of just throughout the year. Saying, okay, we approve it now, and then I move the money. It's nice to kind of look at it as a whole and then determine, what we purchase or what we don't, but it's good. Next I have Joey's portion, for information technology. It's a very small portion. I really should put it in operating, but it makes no difference because it's all general fund monies. Computers and things aren't as expensive as they used to be. It's, more operating cost now than it is a capital asset. It's just, we just put it for planning purposes and his replacement, and everything. And to only put that, and I say only, and it's a small portion, because if you work in the township, you have to appreciate our technology. I feel we're a cut above a lot of municipalities, and that's a lot to do with Joey. Him and I constantly, at least from an operations point or our point, are always looking to upgrade, come up with new ideas to streamline our services. And, Mike had asked about, possibly do I have any need down there, in my department. And because we streamlined so much from the day I started here, 13 years ago to now, and really haven't increased my staff, it says a lot. And honestly, we're doing fine and with all the, upgrade and, and I hate to bring up the water authority, but they are so far behind in technology, sitting with all that versus how we are here. And that just goes to show with the people they service and everything. So I feel that Joey asking for this, it's small, and we also, needed to operate. That's why we can do things faster, and to support all of our functions and things we do in the township. We need to keep on replacing and have newer PCs.
And my numbers, I estimate high. I don't always purchase the amount requested, but I'd like to let you guys know that that's what the maximum could potentially be. Like this year, I managed to work with all of our existing equipment. We had no computer upgrades. So not that it was a huge amount. I think it was budgeted like 13. But, and the other one I have in there is something we've been pushing off every couple of years, access control for Pavilion 2, just like the building here. Everywhere we have internet access, I'd like to eventually move to that, putting Temple. It saves on park staff because we can give people temporary codes, no more coming in this building for keys. Our keys are very expensive to replace because they're very high quality locks. So that's something I'd like to see. And the other one is an upgrade to the brush drop off camera system. Because of the whole building that was erected, we have to move the cameras to another portion. That's gonna entail some cost or incur some cost, and upgrading the modem over on that site. So it would be a $40 a month access fee for internet versus the $120 that we pay right now for Comcast. So there's an ROI long way, but that eventually will pay for itself as well.
Joe, your programs are like Word. They're now annually updated, and there's more costs every year to have Word on your.
Not one of my vendors have gone down in all my years here. And in fact, some, like Springbrook, our accounting software, they're not letting you even host your own data with your database anymore.
Yeah, we moved to cloud.
We have to move to a cloud-based solution, which is basically them hosting all of our data. And then unfortunately, instead of a one-time purchase with maintenance costs, they lower your annual subscription, but you're never done paying. And that's what most of our softwares are moving to. For instance, like for Joel, his Adobe products, Photoshop and all that good stuff, you can't buy them standalone anymore. Now, I am lucky because we're government, I can still one-time purchase our Microsoft products. So,
Just I mean, 33,000 compared to 2 other employees, I mean, that's
Right.
where we come, I mean, employees are expensive.
Right.
And really, you know, dealing with this on even a professional level is in credit to Joey and our team is our technology and the way we interact with the public is state of the art. And we hear that from community members, or we hear the jealousy of other larger communities who aren't operating as, where we're pretty transparent, we're pretty open, we do things the right way, the way technology is now, which I think helps us with getting our collection, a collection rate on track, all the things we do. And once again, Dawn mentioned surplus and not wanting an employee, she wins this year. And then the other day with staff said, you don't want an employee. But yeah, I thought that he said, the interactive on any other municipal website in Berkeley County or what Joey and his team have done, it's, and we have to keep investing in it, keep investing in it, it's just the way technology is, so. And that's actually pretty cheap investment, 35 grand in the scheme of things.
right, one thing that you'll see in the detailed budget is computer services, which is where most of my contracts and vendors are paid from. Obviously increases every year. Normally, this would be a exchange server year. But we're gonna move that also to a hosted solution, so.
And then
instead-
Dawn's point, it really is general, it could be in the operating.
Yeah, it's
Right.
stuff that needs to happen anyway, but I do try to.
Feature the
Build
program,
it, yeah.
right, so that those are much. Guys.
Remember, so now,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I think Joey's done a fantastic job over the years of maintaining our IT infrastructure. To your point, Mike, about the state of the art. You know, and hosts of issues, so.
You know, and it helps keep, other things down because there's not many, other municipalities, when their auditors come, we set them up and they no longer pull files, look at paper stuff. That's why their field work is so, they even come to use our system as far as, looking at their employee list. So I mean, it really streamlines a lot of functionality even to outside, people and stuff like that. So, yeah, so anyways.
And just a quick question for my own, how long have you been on Springbrook?
Since I started, well, that was one of the tasks I was assigned when I got here.
Yeah, I think purchased, contract signed probably the end of 13, no, by 14, because we moved here,
And
believe it or not, it'll be 9 years
Yeah.
in December.
So they're still the cutting edge of municipal software.
They're very good, they're copied by a lot of others, there's
For their
some stuff out there that's probably a little bit better, but we literally couldn't afford it.
Right.
Then you're getting up into
Like a city.
Dallas, Los Angeles, Chicago type size.
For our size municipality and what we do, because we don't obviously have the water sources and we don't have taxes, we have a tax collector, the county does that for us, and technically our only thing is trash. Now, however, we are looking into now maybe purchasing the utility billing portion of Springbrook. And that I think is gonna give more functionality, better mechanisms with trash and recycling, be less labor intense for me and what I have to go through, 6,000, 8,000 accounts, stuff like that. So we're hoping it's gonna come at a little cost, but we're hoping that it offsets by the functionality and the things they do. When we first purchased Springbrook 10 years ago, we didn't entertain that because it was so high functioning, but now as things are moving along and progressing the way we're doing things, I think it's gonna give us better functionality than how we currently bill our trash and recycling.
And keep in mind, Springbrook encompasses not only all Dawn's functionality, AR, AP, payroll, that's also tied into codes. All of our health, fire, and building permits also through Springbrook, as well as human resources module. So it does cover a lot of departments.
So yeah, we still find it to be a good product for what we do and what we need. I haven't gone out and looked at any more. I talked to other municipalities who are using different stuff than us. I think ours is better. I think for our needs, I'm not saying. And for what we paid for this, you know, our original investment in Stony Brook when we first bought it. 100,000, 109, yeah, almost 110. And now granted, like you said, yeah, your subscription costs, we upgraded some things, but initially, I think it was all, yes, but all right. So now we'll move on to Public Works and Jeremy's budget. I have 500,000 for the annual road paving. We do get 540, I believe, from the water authority. He's asking for a bucket truck. This is a replacement of one of them, and a wide area mower. So Jeremy can speak on this background.
Yeah, the annual paving is typically, the sports been here long enough, knows that right now my envision for next year is Hain Avenue, Eisenhower, Foster, Edison, Whitney, Edison Court, and Laurel Run Ave. And that's roughly with budget numbers is about 475,000, what that bid should come back at, depending on what blacktop goes up, oil goes up, who knows. So that's on the annual paving side. Bucket truck is a 1999, which unfortunately had a mishap accident about almost a month ago. So it's 24 years old to begin with. Current CoStar's purchase of a new one is 157,257. That's a very, I had that quote 3 weeks ago, so that's very fresh. That is the exact number. We also have a non-insulated bucket truck currently, which isn't able to be used anymore, but insulated is for safety reasons. You touch any wire or anything, it'll be bad. So there's things that unit was bought that probably shouldn't have been back in 1999. Wide area mower, same thing. That's to replace the other Toro, which is a 2008. That's a 15-year-old lawn mower that does 11-foot wide mowing, and everyone here knows how much mowing we do per year. So that's the one that we just purchased this year. We'll be replacing the second one with that. It's just aged equipment. And we try, and everyone on the board knows that we run the wheels off everything in both departments that I oversee.
And so for long, Vanessa, the road paving is just an in and out there. The water.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it looks like that's fun already to the other one, so.
Maybe good progress.
Yeah, really.
After this year, commissioners, not entire, but portions or entirety of roads, it will be 82 in my tenure. I don't know any other township that it's on that.
Yeah, I mean, I know Jeremy talked about the bucket truck. I mean, I think just should they don't use it a lot.
Almost daily.
Yeah, so I think it's not like something that sits there like Chief's ATV once, but. I better watch.
Well, they'll be mowing water control.
Yeah. No,
There's an idea.
Yeah, he's not overly asking for what we use, so I mean, I would be in support of it. I know it's going out of capital, but. You know, we end up not doing it. It's 1999, I think we're gonna do one day. Find that.
Now, my also other thought here is the truck itself is not rusted, so my thought is to remove the damaged stuff off of it and then equip it with a dump head. That increases a chance of another seat to plow stuff.
Yeah.
So I would like to repurpose the truck. I'm not looking to auction it off and get nothing for it. I'm looking to. Not. They're basically operating. But yes, I'd like to repurpose.
Sure, the new truck is not installed, correct?
The truck that we currently have is not insulated. I wanted, this is insulated.
So do we do periodic testing on that?
It gets inspected every year. It has to. There's a certification that even this current one had to go through that there's an outside source that we take it to and they.
Yeah.
So to Mike's point, I mean, the 500,000 we budget every year, we take that.
Yeah.
The money for Charter gives us, so, Jeremy's asking for another, 200 and so it's. Needs to be longer. So-
It's a very old truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long does it take you to, when you order that, how long does it take?
Fortunately, right now, I believe they have a couple coming off that I can probably have within 30 days.
Okay.
Very fortunate.
Well, we got,
And I think it's because of the outside world is not buying a whole lot with interest rates and the things that are going on right now, so that's why there's a little bit. It's the first company I dealt with that actually has that, though. Every other piece of equipment. Talk to us in a year or 2 years, like Alex said about the fire truck, it's tough.
Backwards, just a second, Chief, the two vehicles, are we talking SUVs, the Chevys or what? Ford Explorers. Fords, okay.
So the last, department who request capital is through park maintenance. Karen put these together with her thoughts. So I can let her speak to her numbers and her thinking.
Well, I have a couple of ideas. The replacement of the Reading Crest playground equipment, the NRPA standards, there is a replacement schedule that you should follow. I think Reading Crest should have been done back in like 2018 kind of thing. I know Steve was out there with looking at it and knows that it needs to be replaced. But yeah,
Well, I do, I'm sorry, I do have a question about replacing park equipment, and I guess because I don't get around the township as much as other people do. I'm just wondering because, just with changes and everything. And I know our parks get used a lot as far as rentals for picnics and stuff, but on the other flip side, is this equipment used? Is this something that's going by the way? You know what I'm saying? Is it something that's changing? Is it something that's still needed at every park of ours? Those are just my thoughts of, to replace equipment that basically sits out in the elements and how often is it used or utilized? So I guess if I was thinking of it, take a look at, how many people go to the parks and Reading Crest is kind of out there off the, so is there certain parks that get utilized more that we should maybe put the equipment there and not just because it's in the 10-year plan, maybe remove the equipment or, those are just my thoughts. But go ahead, Karen, sorry.
I don't go out there every day. I do pass by very frequently when I go to Jim Dietrich Park. I know it's used when there's baseball games there, and there's pavilion. I have to put on Facebook very specifically about people taking their families there. It is a free entertainment for their children, and I think our population base, income levels need those free kind of things to do. It's a nice afternoon out with your children, you can have a picnic right there with the table. So, I would highly recommend that you replace that, since some of it is probably not in the best condition it could be in. And that's Reading Crest playground equipment replacement. I believe we need a new roof at the recreation building. I don't know if you've actually gone down and looked at that. I have some pictures if you want to pass those around. The shingles are coming off, there's mold growing on it, there's tree growing out of the spouting kind of thing. It really needs to have some attention to it. Over the weekend, the caretakers had to put a bucket underneath a section of it because it was leaking. So, I believe last year, maybe a limb came down through the, one portion of it that we actually store some of our chairs and things like that in it. But in the years that I've been here, I don't remember it being replaced, so that's over 20 years. So I kind of think of this building, if it was your own home, would you let it be going to the rate like it is? cleaning outside the building. I think the last time it was cleaning with John, his mom did it when he was actually on staff here. How many years ago was that? So it just looks like a shabby building when you drive up to it. And
We
then-
call that character.
Yeah, you call it character. Yeah. So even on the inside, you know, the kitchen is some orange color that was probably back in the 1980s that hasn't been upgraded. Bathrooms are usable. You know, we've been replacing toilet paper rolls and soap dispensers and towel dispensers. But it really just needs a total refresh kind of thing. And, parking lot needs paved. It hasn't been paved in the 20+ years that I've been here either. It's looking kind of shabby. I know roads are more important than a parking lot, but I mean, this is a highly used facility within our township. It generates over 50 grand a year in fees. We really need to start putting some money back into it.
Karen, will this be done in-house? Are we gonna?
I mean, I believe some of these projects could be done in-house, but I don't honestly know the work schedule of Jeremy's men.
Like Scotty, you know, the guys who are good at this.
Yeah, I mean, like the painting part easily, roof depending.
I mean, I question the steepness on the one side of the rec
Yeah.
building, you know,
I was just
for the
curious.
safety of our guys.
We tried to hire some skilled guys.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that some of the stuff, the problem is once you take on so many projects a year, things get forgot about. So, you know, that's as much as we like to try to do everything in-house, you gotta understand, there's always something that's not getting done if we're doing something that isn't
Yeah.
technical, daily routine stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know, obviously something like painting, there's definitely time to do that.
Yeah.
There's, you know,
I'm just curious.
And I really question the timeliness of some of this. It needs to be on a schedule because we did have renters there.
Yeah,
You know, then we're gonna have to just find those renters or, you know, some of the meetings, you know, if we displace them, they could go to the farmer, so they could come in here. You know, but there's also rentals on the weekends. It needs,
Yeah.
you know, if we're gonna do a project, it sort of needs really to be planned. So that we can block off the time frame and then, you know, as Jeremy said. It kind of needs to be a priority that week because it is blocked off.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, there's a lot of moving parts in trying to upgrade, you know, the building, but I do really believe it does need to have some attention. So I really want to draw that to your attention. They could be on project by project basis, you know, do the roof first, painting, you know, just throwing it out there.
When it comes down to once it needs, you know, the roof was leaking just last week.
Yeah.
You know, I think that is a need. The building is generating $50,000 a year. It's used every week a number of times. So I think that is something that we have to look at. I had a roofer go out and gave us pretty recent prices. Jane Klecker. And so we kind of know what that is. I think some of these things we can do ourselves. The playground, when I was on the abilities motion, I was trying to get them to put a special needs playground somewhere. That kind of all died. Having an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old grandchildren, I take them to different parts. We do not go to Red Crest because it is kind of, it's not really a nice playground. We always go out, just down Cherry. Go actually over here, High Park. There's some nice playgrounds. Laurel Lane is a very nice playground. It doesn't have a swing set. And I keep thinking about that swing set over at Cherokee Ranch. And I said to you, Jeremy, just bring that swing set over and that kind of went in the scrap. But swing sets, everybody likes swing sets. I'm not sure we need a park, a playground at Reading Crest. If we make some of the other ones nicer. I mean, my grandkids love the one at Staff Ferry, and that is always full. There's a lot, you're right. It's a free way of entertaining your kids. And I think we have a lot of parks that people could go to. I'm not sure if I'm going to press the area, the special needs park would be nice. There's nothing out at Jim Dietrich.
That's what I was gonna mention that, you never really
You know,
entertained that there. Different drop, grand, but the, whatever recommendation, and we'll be closer to it than I am, is, one point I did want to make though, we can, I think we're up to about 200 grand, right? We could use park development money for this, so we don't have to rob the reserves, right?
Do you mean for the playground equipment?
Yeah.
You can use Parks Development Fund for new development
New-
projects, not
So
for
if we
maintenance.
took that down and invested it somewhere else, we would be able to use Parks Development money, not hit the. So Parks Development money to get, you guys know, in lieu of the fee, we get a fund, that's how the dog park is built, right?
Right.
So that has been accumulating, right, up to, I think.
I think Jim's taking some this round.
We have two projects that are using that. The Laurel Run Park improvements will be using,
Yeah.
I think $140,000.
Okay. I just want the board to know that there, we do have a fund there for park stuff, so,
Yeah.
anyway.
I think it'd be nicer. It could be used for replacing certain things, but unfortunately it's for developing of things or, and also, and again, you know, we own that building, the rec building. Joey and I were talking, now, is anything else used for that anymore as far as, you know, obviously the park maintenance people used to be there, but is it just strictly for rentals now? Okay, I'm just wondering how much money you want to invest into an old building. And that only brings in, and I say only 55,000, because our other parks are very popular. You know, so something to consider, you know, you could sell the building. But anyways, but it is nice if it can be done a lot in the house.
You wouldn't be able to sell it. It was purchased as part of the Riverside Basin.
Oh, okay,
project,
well,
so
you can sell it, okay, well, then you should go. Yeah. But anyways, it is, but to Karen's point, it's an older building, and, definitely the roof, you know, I would think should be done before you start any interior work.
Well, I guess, I don't know, just to give some direction and clarity and from Commissioner Wilkins, but I mean, the roof needs to get done. So I'd say that, you know, in the next meeting, we put it on the agenda to vote on getting the roof done. And it sounds like a priority item. And then Karen, to your point, bring to us a schedule of what renovating it will look like, potential costs. We can vote on that separately to see if, you know, all the points that were just made, if that's, we want to invest in the building, what we're going to do with the and we go on there to see here's what the schedule look like, here's the cost will look like. Here, these guys are gonna be involved or not involved, but you know what I mean, just to come up with a game plan. So to your point, we're gonna do it, we do it. If we're not, then we don't. Right? So I think that'll give us some direction to go separately.
Well, I look at it as, maybe it's not used to the point like the farmhouse or something, but, you know, once it needs, you know, painting the exterior of the building, that's a need to make. You need to update, you need to keep that maintenance in place. You know, otherwise you're looking at like much larger repairs down the road. And, you know, if we were to do some upgrades there, you know, maybe there's a way to kind of promote that for other activities anyway, to bring additional revenue in. I want to go back to the parking lot, but you mentioned the parking area. Is it at the rec center, that parking lot? Is that something we can use your macadam toy to do that, or are we talking tearing it out?
You're talking milling that out at the paper. Now, you know, what the future brings is when I replace employees, I'm hoping to eventually be able to hire someone that knows how to use a paper. Then we rent and then we do stuff like that in-house.
Okay.
So, but I can't say right now that we'd be able to do that. We couldn't as of right now, but in the future, maybe.
Yeah. My comment on the playground equipment, you know, I know we took the playground away when we built the expanded facilities. At the house, well, Jeremy's boys, Because that was a playground that wasn't being used, and, you know, that was just a total wreck of area. I mean, I do see kids on the Reading Press. And I like the idea of having a playground with equipment on it that kids can walk to. And I know we lament that kids don't do those kind of things, that they're, you know, they're all on their phones or whatever, but. You know, when you're looking at marketing an area, from a housing perspective, if you're looking at a potential young family to come in with kids, and you're like, hey, within walking distance. I mean, it's one thing, Steve, to say, you know, we drive to these different playgrounds. But, you know, I think most families that are coming into an area, they're not gonna do that. They're looking for someplace safe with equipment that their kids can walk to and have a place to play on. And I know playground equipment is not cheap. But it's a lot different than it was when we were kids. You know, I'm talking sliding that 180-degree metal sliding board anymore, but I'm in favor of looking at replacing the equipment, especially if it's broken, rather than just eliminate it. I mean, if there's things we can do to enhance that little park, then I'm all for that. I just, you know, if you're a realtor and you're saying, hey, yeah, here's a house here, your kids can walk down to this playground and play. I kind of like the idea of it.
I mean, to Dawn's point and to your point, there's 2 properties currently we have now that don't have playground equipment on that I think are probably more populated than that area. Jim Dietrich does not have a playground. At the end of Rivervale, there's an enormous piece of property that is an open field that does not have a
That's
playground.
what's the name of that land?
Also no parking there. Rivervale had it. That's not an accessible property.
To walk to, like you just said, you're talking a
The
population.
number one complaint I get on my side, and I'll talk about that, is from residents, and then we talked about this in the parking issue, but we have no walkable playground that they can go to when you cross the bridge. You gotta cross the bridge to get to the playground. Right?
Yeah.
You gotta cross the bridge, so I hear that all the time, when you put a playground down here, I know Jim, we talked about Rivervale Meadow, that piece, but the parking was the problem, but you have a lot of people over that side of the community now where, not that I'm saying you don't replace, Reading Crest, because I think the Marine House better, honestly, but we are gonna have to figure that out, of where we logically put
Yeah.
a walkable, so they don't get across the
But
street.
there you might be able to get the grants, right? Because-
Well, that is kind of what I was doing a little sidebar with Karen here. I don't even know that we have a master plan for that Rivervale Meadows site. So, I mean, if that's something that, you know, there is access to that site, there is no parking. There is no parking to that site. Access is via, right of way, you know, that between 2 abutting property owners. So we most certainly can do something there, but, you know, I think we need to look at a map from a master plan perspective, of what that site could look like.
And
it
Jim, I'm not
absolutely
even
is.
saying there, I'm saying if Jim Dietrich would be a smarter option because of the 13 acres you just got. I don't know, you guys are smarter than me, you know, you pick it out, but is it more logical to have it at Jim Dietrich than all the parking issues than at Rivervale Meadows that, because I'm just, the point being is so they can walk somewhere that they don't have to cross the bridge.
A new playground installation can also be a grant application. That DCNR offers grants for playgrounds to be constructed as well. Not necessarily to be rebuilt, but new construction, there are grants though that are available for that kind of thing.
I mean, I'm kind of with Commissioner Lurch on the Reading Crest. I think it, you know, it needs to be replaced and people use it. I mean, I see kids use it when I drive by, going to speed like that. So. Have you noticed people, that's my particular, I know it's a big ticket item, but shit's expensive, you know?
Yeah.
Did I agree with what Commissioner Lurch said? If you look at our new comprehensive plan, you look at the county's comprehensive, and it's all about walkability, you know, and there's quite a few residents over there, right? It's there.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, and, you know, you can look at what you put in from an equipment, for what kind of things do you need? I mean, swings, I mean, slide, is it one of those big all-in-one units? I mean, there's a lot to be done.
Do they have charging stations now?
Okay, and then that's more, for the chief is, be there to drive on the later.
Well, all I can say is if you wake up in the morning, your vehicle's not there, no, it's not repoed.
So going from direction, I think we've heard, but in from that, I think, well, from the roof, I think is, we should vote on this next month.
Yeah.
And then the playground replacement, and then Karen's gonna come back in June at a later time with the plan, a renovation schedule, and then we'll vote on that separately.
Yeah, because, and overall, capital, it doesn't include the roads, there's 1.3 basically, so a little over 700,000 with that. I particularly don't like going over the million point. And a lot of these numbers, even what Karen did, estimates weren't maybe coming in, whatever, so I'm hoping, I would feel comfortable maybe putting $1 million in that.
We go right ahead.
I know you guys can spend more, hopefully spend less. That's all I'm saying.
Karen, just can you, the gym teacher parking area for events? Where are you looking there?
And that would be what we call the Riverfest parking lot. How we have some split rail posts in there, and then we have string kind of,
Yeah.
just realigning that to make actually straight roads.
Okay.
And putting probably locust post in, and then some chains, so we don't have to continue to do those ropes every time.
Yeah.
Take them down, whatever, just make it look, presentable in a nice gridded fashion to maximize the parking that we could get down there. We do have a wet area that we need to kind of stay away from. So it's really just realigning all of that into a nice kind of, honestly, maintenance free, but less of a maintenance. The guys spend a lot of hours down there, putting up that road and that kind of stuff. So
That's constant. We're good. Karen, we're good with that. Dawn, we're good with that. I do have one question, and I asked Mr. Bovek this because we never knew when the park was being built about the walkway. How much would it cost to make the walkway next to the street down larger?
Well, we spoke briefly about that, with repaving of if we were to go through the process of repaving the driveway there, we could do that at the same time in asphalt. If we didn't do it in asphalt, we could actually do it in-house with concrete, a piece at a time. If we want it all done in one shot, we'd have to come back and.
You don't know what I mean, walking down the park.
Yeah, so.
All that traffic, there's
Yeah.
so much volume of traffic.
Yeah.
You walk, you don't feel particularly safe, and it's really small, it was built that way.
And I'm sure the grass would be kind of run over some of that asphalt.
Yeah.
That narrows.
Because we put
Well,
those
even a little
things
bit.
in and they got hit all the time, that didn't
Yeah.
work, so. Do you have any guesstimate, like something like that?
Jerry, did you put a number together for that? In asphalt, remember?
I probably, I gave that
Do you
to you.
do you recall?
Remember what, I have it, I can give it to you guys.
We talked about, I don't know how long that's been, but the amount of volume and traffic and the people walking and. We put the speed bumps in, but if there's a car on that road every single second of the day, it's open.
Yeah.
And it's tough to walk, and I'm worried about a family walking, kid or something, so if we could just bring that to the board, otherwise. I appreciate that conversation. But just shits and giggles, like you talking 20 grand, you talking 100 grand, is it gonna be?
It wasn't astronomical, but what we were thoughts was that drive-in, that room was finished. So that never had wearing on it, so that would be not waiting too long, you could skim mill that and then just putting wearing. But that's also going down past the circle and to the barn, how that's kind of stone, that's that main access, which a lot of debris comes down towards the barn house, which would prevent that.
Yeah.
So that is paving that, now that wasn't going crazy wide, so extending it would be just a little more money, but like I said, within the next week, I'll send an email out to all.
I know it's always tough spending money on that stuff, it's just, in time.
It would be free.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Okay. Now we're going to move on to the ambulance fund. And I don't want to say the only reason I'm including it in the presentation, I probably wouldn't, because I wouldn't have recommended it. Tax increase, but I don't do the operations there, so, so I did put it as part of the presentation because we did accept the 1 bill, last year, right? Anyways, so the revenue generated from that, 110,000, basically. Out of, the ambulance, we established, agreed to, when you guys voted to put the millage on, we took that millage and paid what currently was paid out of the general fund for the county communication fee. The ambulance fuel, we used to pay out of the general fund, and then we used to give them the contribution. Now, Jody has come back to us and, he has asked us, prior to the presentation, we've been giving them a transfer to help cover some of their debt. I look at it as either way, this money is used for their operations. However, we don't run their operations. I was hoping that we could build from that 0.1 mil, sort of, I don't want to say a savings, but an equipment type thing that we'd be able to then turn it over to them and say, you know, here's 250 acres, so after we build it up and go buy or put this towards your equipment and whatever you need. However, they wanted our help with paying some of the existing debt for one of your, the ambulances, correct? Yes. So, there still may be money left over, but that's what we've been using that fund for, this year with the county communications of fuel and some debt. And then the next slide is kind of just, what the 2024 budget is. I have down in the ambulance capital equipment, which I put what I'm saying we allocate the fund balance for as, hopefully it could be around 71,000. I did not include giving them money for debt though, so it can be either or, it's just, whatever. So, and then I know Jim had, gave you all the, letter from Jody, requesting a 0.2 mil increase. And again, I don't do their operations, I can't speak to that, so I'm going to hand it over to Jody and then he can talk more about what he is thinking, his thoughts, present their budget, why they feel they need the money.
Just having a steak for breakfast. The money that we got last year, we applied towards the money that we loaned for our Fordham ambulances. We were back up here. The EMS is a threshold nationally. It's a crisis. We're participating in the CELG meetings. We've only had one meeting so far, and we've identified that the shortcoming from our reimbursement from the payers, private insurance, Medicare, Medicaid, is just continuing to go down. And the cost of business is just continuing to go up. I saw somebody had a 10% increase with the township for health insurance. That translates to like $20,000 for us for the few full-time staff that we have. And we're at the point now where we're not saving any money for any of our capital purchases next year. Our litters, they're only a couple years old, so we can get a couple more years out of them, but they're $50,000 a piece. Our life pack monitors that we do our cardiac monitoring, they're $40,000 a piece. They have a set lifespan. The devices that we do the CPR with, we just had one break. They're $14,000 a piece. They're 5 years old and can't even be fixed anymore. My biggest expense is payroll and trying to keep up with the surrounding agencies so that I can retain staff. I think we're one of the best EMS squads in the county. We did some cross training with the police department this past week. And the thing I heard over and over again was teaching these guys how to do tourniquets and how to pack wounds that you can't put on and put a chest shot in the torso. And every single time I'm going over the training with these guys, somebody in the group would say, I'm not too worried about this because you guys are awesome and you're always here within like 5 minutes. So that to me was the best compliment I could have gotten. The problem is we can't continue to provide the best service with the way things are going. So I'm coming to you guys for money to help support us. At the CELG meeting that we had, I was told that the county spends $70 million on police, $30 million on fire, and $1.1 million on EMS. We do have the option that we do bill insurance, by law we have to, but the problem is what we get paid from Medicare and Medicaid is $40 less than what it costs me to do that call. So every time I leave station doing a Medicare or Medicaid call, which is 65% of my call volume, it's costing me money. And we're at the point now where we're going to start dipping into our reserves. I was asking for 0.3 of a mil, and that's going to keep us even from loss. We just got a grant from Representative Rossi, $225,000. I want to give some of that back to the community and do CPR, free CPR training for the citizens of the community, and some stop the training because there's an interest for that with the violence and all the athletes you see dropping under dead. That's not even getting us ahead. That's just keeping us at a zero balance. I give you guys my budget. I give you guys my costs. We are looking at any possible option of making EMS more cost efficient. We're looking at mergers. We looked at merging with Power Health, which we did not do for a multitude of reasons. We're looking at merging buildings. We're looking at participating in the CELG meetings so that we can figure out a way of how to keep EMS above water. You guys have any questions on anything I've ever given you guys? The payer model, call volumes. I'm pretty transparent with you guys and give you everything I have.
I would say you have been very, very open with us as to your finances, how much money you're losing.
See my profit and loss last month.
I mean, I worried with you because if you guys go like the other ones are going, you have to look for some other provider. And I appreciate where you're coming from. It really ticks me off that we can't collect from insurance companies what they owe us. And that should be directed somehow from a higher level as to, why can't an insurance company pay $200 for a $1,400 bill? I mean, I just don't understand how they can do that. Maybe you can explain that to me, Vanessa. I just don't understand, if you would give the patient a $1,400 bill, instead of sending it to the insurance company, and they pay the patient $200, I would think the patient would be complaining to the insurance company that, what are you doing? Seems like then they send the check directly to the patient, which doesn't get transferred back.
They turned it into a very complicated game. And unfortunately, they're the ones that are setting the rules, and we're at their mercy. We do have some legislative lobbying groups that are in our favor. It's so convoluted and so complicated. Right now, they're trying to pass. So one of our sources of revenue is we bill per mile. Medicaid doesn't allow us to recoup money for the mileage. I think we get $20 a mile, and that just helps recoup some of the costs of getting them paying us $400 for a $440 ambulance ride because of it offsets some of the other losses. They're trying to pass that at the state level because Medicaid's a state program, and it got shot down because they threw a bunch of junk into it at the back end that had nothing to do with EMS that the legislators didn't like. So that got shot down. Now it's going to be another year or two before that gets looked at again. The trick that they're doing now is really a problem. Is the ambulance services do not participate with the insurance companies. Non-participating means that the patient gets the check. And if I would, Western Berks participated with Blue Cross for a while. They wouldn't lock in at a set fee. So rather than getting the typical average $1,400 bill for a paramedic service call, an ALS call, they agreed to take $425, but then get the check sent right to Western Berks, rather than the $1,400 getting sent to the patient. Half the time, the explanation of benefits is so confusing and lacking that the patient getting the check's not even sure what the check's for, and they'll use it to pay their mortgage or make their car payment. And then we have to go after them by law, or we can forfeit our Medicare contract with Medicare. You don't get to pick your participating provider in an emergency. It's geographically done. Just because you want the closest things. What the insurance companies are doing is they're sending the participating rate to the patient with more explanation. So they give us a check for $425. And then we have to go after them for the remaining balance, which usually requires a three-way phone call with the patient, the insurance company, and our billing agency. You know, you don't get to pick a participating ambulance. You have to take yours dispatched. You have to pay your full bill. Like that's just what you have to do. And then what they'll do is they'll make the appeal process. They'll throw so many requirements on it that if you don't meet all the requirements, you forfeit the appeal. So the insurance paperwork that gets submitted for the bill might be 1 page, a copy of the trip sheet, and some demographics of the patient. Well, the appeal process will be 10 pages long in it, and they'll say you have to have this in 30 days, or you forfeit the appeal process.
That's healthcare for you.
Yeah.
Property and casualty, which is what I do, is a little bit different. If it's an auto accident or if it's a fire response, the hospital will pay the full invoice, but healthcare will negotiate. And it's a little bit more complicated, so I can see, if I don't have healthcare, I will have to pay the full invoice. But if I have healthcare, they have to negotiate, they don't get the full amount.
Julie, just a quick question now, for you, the funding request, you said that the millage request, you said, but is that, and in addition, you want the $100 per household, or is that a either here or, you know what I'm saying?
We're looking at every possible option to ensure our viability in the future, whether merging with others. The salary that the EMS staff makes, you can go make more at Walmart stocking shelves. So these people have a passion for serving their community. They want to help people. The vast majority of my employees work 80 hours a week, work in multiple jobs, go from job to job. That's why we let them sleep at night when they're not busy. Completely lost my train of thought.
No, I'm just curious because, you know, the one problem we talk about, whenever you do a per household thing, that you lose track of, you just don't fund the household. The millage is a better option for funding because of the business community that you're probably at as much as you are household. So that's the, you know, then tacking on $100 bill on a trash bill really isn't really fair to the residents when the business communities get your same service or nothing. That's why I like the millage better than doing a per household thing.
This was one of the options that we had looked at in the past. That $100 is inflated. I got that from somebody else.
Yeah.
The $100 figure was when we sat with the CELG, we sat down and the collective amongst all of the Berks County EMS agencies came up with, it costs about $100 per household. Like if you were to divide it all up with what the emergencies are, what it costs to run the ambulance, that $100 is what in theory, so for like the police department or the fire department, if you're providing that service, it would be the $100 per household to get what you need in order to operate outside of that money that's coming back from collected from the insurance companies.
Yeah, I got you.
In the past, when we did the proposition, 2 years ago, it was Western Berks, I believe, has 13 municipalities. There's 2 that do not contribute to their membership program. The membership program for them, I believe, is $35 to $40. I'm not sure what it is now, to the municipality, and the municipality takes all of those. So what we have, 9,000 households, 7,700. So out of those 7,700, then 40, we'll use $40. $40 per household is what, like Lower Heidelberg or Spring Township, that's what they're paying the ambulance service, which they call it a membership program. Then what they do is they don't do that back billing to anyone that we pick up. So if I come to your house, pick you up for chest pain or whatever, we send that bill to your insurance company. We make every attempt to collect that. But whatever is left over out of that, we do not send you the bill then. Now, that would not obviously work for people that are coming from outside the area coming in. there is some workable membership program that if all of Berks County was a membership and we tried going this route with the county, saying if we do a countywide membership where it's then dispersed amongst all the agencies with the households, then everyone's technically a member and it doesn't matter. I mean, unless you're from out of the area. If you live in Wyomissing, come to Muhlenberg Township, we come pick you up. You're still a member. We accept whatever the insurance company pays and that's the end of it.
The problem is though, when the ambulance association is not participating like Reading Hospital. When they pick me up, they're not gonna accept my membership.
So that was part of the reason why we redid the run cards the way that we did. I mean, we backfilled with the fire department that if Western Berks was coming all the way up in the Temple, we still had a fire response that someone was getting there to initiate care in the meantime of that fourth, fifth due ambulance coming out to you. If Penn State was coming down, Penn State's coming down, they're sending you their hospital bill, and then they're billing you on top of that for whatever they did not receive payment for. The hospitals are going after their money. And as far as I understand, I mean, that works the same way. If you live up in Fleetwood, that ambulance comes out, there's no participation with those services. So even if that was something that you look to go towards, like, well, the ambulance is costing us more and more money every time, but we get it, we understand. But if you bring a hospital-based system in, that they're big business. I mean, at the end of the day, if they sit there and go, you're costing us a lot of money, what are we cutting? We're gonna cut that ambulance service. We're not gonna shut our ER down. So
Hospital-based EMS was the way almost everything was run back in the mid-90s when I went through my pre-hospital nursing stuff. I was out in Harrisburg, New York, and the ERs hired paramedics. They would get a ready body quad cab truck, put 4 paramedics in it with 4 sets of gear, and they would literally drive out and meet the incoming ambulance and drop the paramedic off, and then paramedic would come back to the ER and everybody would stock up, get back on the truck again. And as soon as the insurance model changed, the administrations, the hospital said, EMS has to go first because they're losing money for us. And I look at, I'm thankful that St. Joe's and Reading have put EMS systems in. They're paying their providers like $40, $50, $60 an hour. That's great now, but I guarantee you it's going to be a short-lived model.
but what it does to us is people see $40, $50 an hour, so they leave us when they're starting off at $18 an hour as an EMT, and they're going to that hospital-based system to make the money. So you're at that point where you're trying to provide the best service you can, stay within your guidelines, but now we're getting to that point where we're pushing every envelope we can. We even started up our own EMT school. We do the CPR instruction. We teach first aid. I mean, we're doing the avenues that we possibly can do throughout ourselves. But we're at the point where you hit that rock bottom and there's nowhere else to turn.
And I asked the question at the CELG meeting, so let me get this straight. Because of the insurance companies and how they've lobbied federal politicians, they're getting away by not paying as much for service provided. The county has no authority at all to have anything to do with police, fire, EMS. It's going to fall back onto the townships.
So CELG will continue those discussions, and there will be an invitation, I imagine, in the next couple of months, inviting all elected officials to participate in that conversation as well. But just to clarify, if you're looking for $100 a household, that's 7,700 homes, that's $770.
No, that $100 came out of that, what I explained to you. That $100 is what
He wasn't.
we'll call it the misprint up on the board. We're not looking for $100 per household.
It's, yeah, and thank you. I guess it's the board decision, but what do we want to do? I mean,
Unless you want to do the $100.
Yeah. Our I heard that, and I might have been through CLG about the household and what it costs, and you guys have been great with sharing us the information. We've learned more about the ambulance than I had before, but just once again, I mean, it's one of those things like paying an insurance premium, you never care until you have a claim. It's this, they don't think about you until they're calling 911 and you gotta come out. So I'm personally, my vote is in favor of giving you the full 0.2. I know it sucks because once again, the school raise taxes a lot, but this is important.
And it's one of those things that we see the numbers, we see what you're going through, and my opinion is, I don't think you have a choice. We have to, you guys are working your butt off, it's hard to find people, you pay them less than they can go down the street to get. So I think for us as a community, that's just my one vote, so whatever.
And in Pennsylvania Commonwealth, when the lowest government body is responsible for doing all your first responder services.
Guys, yeah, I guess I feel the same way, being on the planning commission, that we always talk about safety and health of our residents and visitors. And when I think about that, I think about ambulance, I think about fire, I think about police, I think about our water. And I think the only way to control all those is for those to be somehow under this boards, I don't say control, but we have some influence in that we don't become a private business, because that will be about making money and it won't be about serving the residents. So with that, I'm in favor of point 2.
Just for clarity, you're going to continue having a membership, $60 family membership for.
And now we're down under 30% return. Last year was abysmal. Yeah,
Used to make almost $250,000 from it, I believe, right now.
2 years ago it was 154. Last year it was, I think, like high 130s.
That's where like Western Berks makes out. I mean, going to their bigger municipalities, they're getting like $350,000 for that membership program, which, I mean, in theory, that covers what we're sending out for the memberships to 7,700 households. You're capturing that money, plus you're getting kind of where we're at now with doing the through the township.
What a lot of the surrounding ambulance services are doing, just because they're in the hole worse than we are, most of them, they're not writing off the balance if you're a member, they're writing off a percentage of it. Because they just can't do it. Now, Kutztown Ambulance, which was the only for-profit private ambulance service in the county, they lost their contract with Max County Township. And the day that he had been told that, the owner just called him up and said, "I'm not providing any more 911 service." Fired all of his employees that day. Luckily, Topton Ambulance could pick up the slack, and we all kind of chipped in and offered him support, whatever he needed. But he's getting $500,000 from Kutztown, Max County Township. So because he's a little bit more towards Philadelphia, Chester, Bucks County, where they pay a lot more for their EMS services, he's paying his part-time staff at $32 an hour. I lost one full-time employee to him.
With the membership.
So we either need a millage from you guys, or what I'm requesting, or a membership per household.
But you do have technically the $60 membership, correct?
Yes.
Right now, we do, yes.
Okay. And you say it's down 30%?
Below 30.
Okay. Do you think it, and this is from my perspective, because I know myself, I'm not a member, of my township, or, I mean, don't even know if they have one, because we have good insurance, and I do turn my check over to pay the difference, so whatever I get bill. However, I know I get things, from like, maybe I can get it from Spring, but I know when I was in Delaware, I get like their stuff. Because it comes from like State Farm, I do rip it up and toss it, I don't even look at it. So do you think it's a thing of how it's being sent out, how it's being,
We're sending a colorful flyer. I mean, it's only like a half page. He's received it, right? Have you seen it? We should probably web. It's colorful. I mean, it's not like it's in this envelope and you see like some fire company's name and you know what it is and you're like, well, I don't have the money to pay that. I mean, you're seeing the colors, everything is right on
and I
it
can
in
be
front of you.
apply that way, I
No, no, I
think,
get it.
or do people think it's junk mail? Not so much, and I'm not saying how you're presenting it isn't true.
I think in this-
That way. We have people do that with our own trash bills, we had to put the word invoice on the envelope because they were tossing it, thinking it was just something we were, sending.
It does say Muhlenberg ambulance membership on
Okay,
there.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's just in this day and age, I mean, you see something like that come across, it's not that solid bill that you know you have to pay.
Right.
It's a choice.
It's a choice.
Right.
And we try educating as far as what you're getting out of the program by becoming a member. I mean, we've gone through all of that to try to promote it and let people know. People, when we go out on calls, I'll be like, are you a member? Not that I really care, like, I'm gonna treat you different if you're a member or not, but do you understand what your membership gets you? Like, this is what would benefit you.
I think with the whole point, because we were talking on fire before, we start increasing millage, I'd imagine the membership will tend to go, I'm paying it in my taxes, I'm not gonna do it. So I think you're seeing some of that already. If you say to a person who not on social media, talk to them and say, well, you know, we're now have a millage for ambulance, I can imagine that your membership's gonna go down because they figure we're taking care of it from a tax standpoint. It's just to prepare you. We usually hear that, which is fine. We just want to make sure everyone's doing what their job will do it. So I think the millage is a better way to fund it moving forward than the household program, because I probably got the mailer, I wouldn't have seen it, looked at it, would even know this day and age. And plus, once again, you also get, I keep saying, we love our business community, but they kind of get off scot-free. And I know you get some donations from them, but unless you do a millage, you know, then you're hitting everyone fairly across the entire, 22,000 than you are by doing the membership program. Just my opinion, but I think the majority is in favor of point two.
We offered we offered the MTA a portion of our newsletter that goes out quarterly, and they explain a lot of the different things that's going on with them. And we would offer that to you guys to explain why you want to be a member. I mean, I had an argument with one of my friends one time that you should be a member of the Ambulance Association, and I have group insurance. I said, but the insurance only pays so much. If you would really hammer on that in an article, I think, the people that read it would understand.
I can put you in touch with Joel also, maybe just to have more precise explanation on your portion of the web. We just have a kind of a hot link that goes to the site, but I think it's important to put in there.
When does the next mailer go out?
December, first week of December.
So I have been touching base with Joel, I want to do that CPR stuff, what we think.
Very good. But yeah, we can beef up what we have. So to compensate, maybe we might grab the people who become members that didn't know about it. For the ones that will inevitably lose because of the millage increase.
Thank you, gentlemen. I think.
Yeah, I think for those of us who sat through budget meetings years ago, and no disrespect to Bob, but Jody, you, I think have been much more transparent in your budget and, allocations and needs. So I think that we're much more educated as to the current status in the last maybe 2 years than we have been in the past. And I know the conversation with CELG will be, they'll probably be long, and they're gonna be tough discussions, and it's gonna be, what does this look like in the long run? Is this a service that's gonna end up being enveloped into the township? Does it become part of the fire department? Those are gonna be all the kind of conversations that are gonna be taking place, but, I definitely see a much clearer need than I had in the past for this like this.
I'd really like to see the county take responsibility for police, fire, and EMS. I mean, that's
Oh, I like that too.
that's what the rest of the nation does, but
Yeah, not in the Commonwealth.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now,
We encourage you all to call 911, I mean.
So what I guess I'm hearing here today.
We're working on that.
Going to increase fire 0.32, and ambulance 0.2. So from 0.1 to 0.3 for ambulance. Okay, and
You didn't need a calculator for this.
I'm not.
All right, thank you, and thank you, gentlemen, for coming, Dawn and the team for the budget presentation. And I think we've given Dawn a good direction, so we'll prepare everything for the November meeting.
Yeah.
So if there's no other comments, we do have 2 other things we need to vote on, and someone's taking minutes, right? So at least write minutes. Okay. Because we are taking action on 2 things. With that being said, I do need a motion to authorize the solicitor to advertise The ordinance to amend the Muhlenberg Township Authority's Articles of Incorporation by increasing the board size from 5 members to 7.
Move.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, any, the ayes have it, so ordered. And a motion to approve the employment agreement with the township manager. So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those of any, the ayes have it, so ordered. Any other comments? Questions? Go ahead, Steve.
Thank you, Don.
You're welcome.
Simple.
Make it no one else can.
Joey,